So I got a call out to this barn from a homeowner who had just purchased the house. So I went inside to see what's going on. He wanted to have chickens, but obviously not with bees. So the dead bees were piled up around this window. This is where the owner thought the bees were, but they were just dying here after trying to get out the window. So I walked around, listening, trying to figure out where the hive was. Eventually, I figured out it was in this corner, so I went outside. So here you can see them coming in and out. That looks like they had actually tried to patch up this hole with spray foam before. So I went to get my thermal camera, and on the way I saw this butterfly. Using the thermal camera, I confirmed where they were, how big the colony was, and was able to see that they were actually in the second stud cavity, not the first one right at the corner. So that was interesting to see. So I took the first board off, and here we can see the bees that are inside. They're all busily working away, and here is a spot where there used to be a colony that's been removed before. They had left some comb, and the bees are actually starting to rebuild a little bit in there. And then on the other side, you can see they're just starting to seal up all the cracks with propolis. So I open up the whole section, and you can see that there have been a lot of colonies in here. There's a lot of old comb, a lot of old mouse nests and grossness and all sorts of filth in there. So I figured I'd start by removing all of the old stuff first, the stuff that the bees aren't on at all. And at this point, the bees were getting a little bit aggressive, so I was glad to have the bee suit on. I usually don't use it, but let's get into that. So here I'm removing the old comb, and I'm just putting it all into containers. But on this piece, I found something a little bit interesting. They had actually started building some larger comb for making male bees or drone bees. And the only reason they make male bees is for reproduction. So here I'm just going to show you a little bit. It's hard to see because it's so small, but that new comb, the cells are actually a little bit bigger. And this is because the male bees are just that little bit bigger than the female bees. So they need that bigger space. So once I got to the new comb, it was time to pull out the bee vacuum. And this was partially because it was a really aggressive colony. So normally I try not to vacuum them. I like to try and handle them by hand and remove them gently. But when they're being this aggressive, and there are tens of thousands of bees, sometimes you just have to pull a vacuum out. So this vacuum takes care of them. It's nice and gentle. So here we go, keep vacuuming, and then as I was able to remove comb, I cleared the bees off it, inspected what was in it, and then put it in frames according to what was in them. Any small pieces of comb went into another bucket, and that was all going to get melted down for wax later. I was noticing that there wasn't any brood, no eggs, no larvae, nothing like that as I was removing it. Unfortunately, my battery did die during the removal, so this is the last of what I've got for the actual removal portion. It's just more of the same. So because this colony was queenless, I decided to give it a new queen, but first I need to give it some resources. So here's some honey that I pulled from another one, and this is the queen. It's in a cage with a little sugar cap in it. Normally I would leave it for a couple days, and the bees would eat through that sugar cap, and by that point they would accept that this is their queen. But because these bees have been without a queen for a long time, they were happy just to have any queen. So I decided that I was just going to let it out right away and see what happened. I had another queen that I could put in there if they decided that they weren't going to take this one. I've opened it up, and it's coming out. And here the queen bee is going to come out. I'm just going to do a freeze frame here in just a second. There it is. You can see her coming across the left, and she's about to go straight down. She has attendants already, and they're going to take care of her, and she's going to start laying eggs right away. So these bees are now happy in their new home. I'm editing this in March. I fed the bees a lot to get them ready for winter, and so far they're doing great. Muggsy approves. He's happy to have some more bees in the yard. We'll see you for the next removal.